we're going to look at how you plan a lesson using the Imvoto plan tool. I've signed in today as a teacher called Mr. Demo, and this teacher on his homepage, you can see he's only got one assessment assigned to his account. Now if this was the assessment we wanted to change by adding new questions or altering existing questions, we can press the plan button. But what we want to do today is we're going to be planning a brand new assessment. So I'm going to click on the Plan New Assessment button, and the lesson we're going to write today is on the topic of circle theorems. Pressing Start will start the process of planning this lesson. So within the planning tool, you see on the left-hand side we have part of the window that shows the structure of the lesson. Now at the moment this is just an empty folder called Circle Theorems because we've not added any questions yet. Three ways there are to get questions into an assessment. The first two, search and browse, let you find other teachers' existing questions or questions you've written in the past. But what we're going to do in this video to start with is we're going to add a brand new question. So clicking on the Add New Question button lets me choose between either a multiple choice or a free response question. I'm going to start with a multiple choice question. So I'm going to give my multiple choice question a title. In this particular question, I want pupils to identify the type of the triangle, given that I've missed some angles out. So I'm giving it a title so I can recognize it. In the big box here we have the body of the question, or sometimes called the stem. You can put formatting in here, you can put tables, insert image we'll see in just a second. But first thing I want to draw your attention to is if you are writing mathematical questions, you can tell Imvoto that something should be typeset mathematically by surrounding the part of the maths that you want to be typeset properly with this backtick character. It's the kind of sloping apostrophe that you'll find up by the escape key. Now this question makes no sense without an image, so we're going to press the Insert Image button and we're going to go and find an image that I've already uploaded to the server. Now you can probably figure out for yourself how to upload images, but we will put an additional video on the website shortly. Okay, the image I want is this one here. Initially it's rather big, 600 pixels wide, wouldn't fit on most smartphones or iPods, so I'm going to resize it, and we find that 300 is a very effective size to work with. So we've got my title, we've got my question, we've got the image to make the question make sense. We now need the list of possible answers, one of which in this particular case is going to be correct. Now the distractor answers I'm going to put is that this is an obtuse triangle. As I add each answer it gives me a box to type a new one in, so scalene, which is also incorrect. Isosceles is my next answer, and this one is actually the correct answer, so I'm going to say to the system that this one is correct by ticking it. Two more distractors, I think I'll say it's right angled, and my final one is that it's equilateral. Now if you wanted a question to have more than one correct answer, you could use these boxes here and the drop down to say how many correct answers there are. I'm not a very good random number generator, so I tend to use the Shuffle Answers button here, which will reorder the possible answers to make it less likely that I have a theme where I always choose the second one to be the correct answer. So in this case it's actually made isosceles the correct answer to be the first one on the list. Now difficulty in categorize we will explain in a future posting, but the one we do want to draw your attention to right now is at the bottom we have this who can use this question button. Now we really want to encourage teachers to share their questions, and so if you do own copyright to a question, we very much like you to enable reuse by choosing public. If you don't own copyright to an image, then you'd have to say that it's private to me or private to my institution, in which case other teachers wouldn't necessarily be able to see the question. But in this case, I own copyright to this question, so I'm very happy to share it with other teachers. So pressing Create does what you would expect, and you'll see here we get notifications that this question has been saved, and also that the question has been added into our lesson. So you can see now our lesson consists of a single question. So let's add a free response question this time. So if I choose to add a question, this time I'm going to say that it's a free response question. Now this question is built up around this image, and what we'll do is we'll insert the image into the question, and again I'll need to change its size to make it fit on a screen. Now I want pupils to work out this angle x. Now the crucial thing for them to be able to do this is that this is an isosceles triangle. I don't want to give that away in the question, but it is useful for me to keep track of my questions with the title to be descriptive. Now pupils don't see title of the question. This is only something that teachers see. So we can be descriptive here without fear of giving away the key part of the problem to pupils. So this particular question, I'm going to describe it as calculating missing angle in an isosceles triangle given an exterior angle. And I want to ask pupils to work out the size of angle x. So I'm going to say calculate size of angle x, and I'm going to surround x with backticks so that it gets formatted just as we see it in the diagram. Now this is a numeric response because I'm actually asking for a number, but we could have questions that involve text, or alternatively, if it's an opinion-based question where we expect pupils to actually write quite a lot, long text would be the appropriate one to choose. Long text answers can't be marked by the computer. In this particular case, it's clearly numeric. The correct answer is 81 degrees. Now, when this gets shown to the user, optionally you can choose to put a prefix and then a suffix. So, for example, you might put a pound sign as a prefix, or you might put a suffix of centimetres. But in this particular case, it makes most sense to have a suffix of degrees because that's what we're measuring in. And to format it like an equation, I'm asking the pupil to work out x equals and then an unknown number. So this would be formatted as x equals, the pupil text box for them to type into, and then the degree sign at the end. Now again, I want to share this question, so I'm going to say that it's public. I'm going to press create. My question will be added, and it will be put into my lesson. Okay, we've got 2 questions in our lesson. We want to add some more. Now, to give the lesson a bit of structure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder to put these 2 questions in that would have formed perhaps part of a starter to the lesson to get pupils thinking. So this folder, I'm going to call it Starter Thinking About Isosceles Triangles. And we'll see when we press add, we get a new folder added. And what I want to do now is to move these questions into that folder. So I'm going to drag and drop each one. So we actually need to drag and drop them onto the folder. And so you can now see we've got my folder that consists of 2 questions. And it means that I can easily look at these questions as a whole and then hide them once I'm finished with the starter. Okay, now so I want to create a folder for my next set of questions. So within this lesson, I think the first circle theorem we're going to look at is the one that says that angles in the same segment are equal. So I've clicked on the top of the lesson and I've said that I want to add a new folder, and I'm going to call it angles in the same segment, just so I keep all those questions grouped together. Now, rather than write questions, what I want to do is to see what questions exist on this topic. Now, this is one of our big goals of Imvoto, is to get teachers to be able to share questions with each other. There are 2 main ways that we've implemented so far of finding questions. The first one is a free text search. So clicking on search will give you a free text box here. I'm going to say that same segment is something I'd expect to see in the title or maybe within the body of the text. Pressing search will start giving me some possible matches. Now, some of these may not be appropriate. By the title I can guess that this one won't be, but if I hover over it I get a preview of the question, and to see that it's asking what's an appropriate name for the region shaded blue. That's not what I'm after today. These questions up here though do look pretty good. Now this one here looks a little bit hard for my pupils to start off with, so I maybe want to find something a little bit more straightforward. This one I think meets the requirement. So I can either take this question and drag and drop it in, it will get added into this folder. Alternatively, you can just click on the little plus icon next door. So the second way to find questions is to browse through the curriculum. Currently we have only a modular GCSE mathematics curriculum loaded onto the system, but this will be expanded very soon. So clicking on browse takes me to the top of the curriculum, and I know this is a Unit 3 topic, so I'm going to click on Unit 3. Now initially in the bottom of the screen you can see all of the questions that are mapped to be a Unit 3 topic, so trial and improvement would be the first one, but that's not what I'm after. Now if I filter down through the curriculum, well, I know it's a geometry topic, it's about understanding and constructing geometrical proofs, and you can see that the questions are narrowed. Now if we keep going on, the curriculum actually has an entry for angles in the same segments are equal, and clicking on this will find just those questions that match that particular part of the curriculum. So for example, I could add this one, I can drag other questions down just as before. So here's my very short assessment. We've got 2 folders and together they have 5 questions within them. Now if you want to change questions in the future, double click on them, lets you edit them. But you'll notice if I double click on this question, I can't edit it, and that's because I did not write this question. I don't have the ability to change it. If I wanted to make a change of it, I'd have to clone it, and this would make a complete copy of the question. I would then own it, and I could make any changes I wanted to do so. Now, if I return to my list of assessments by clicking on Assessments at the top of the screen, you'll see that my new assessment is here. So my circle theorems assessment is here. To teach using this assessment, I press the Teach New button, and a future video will explain that process.